And here we are. It is Joe Zone on a Monday night. And it's going to be a little different this week. This one's going to be just a somewhat modified 10 hut. And we've got Mike Matthews with us tonight. And he works at the Deep. And there's a specific reason why I actually wanted to have Mike on here tonight because I've had a couple of experiences at long time, and I do mean long time comic shops, just in the last couple of weeks that I really wanted to have him come on here and talk about. So let me do just a quick intro as to why I wanted to do this. My wife, I know you guys will cringe, but my wife grew up in New Jersey, just about 26 miles outside of New York City. And she and I have been together for almost 3 decades at this point. So when I first started going there to visit the in-laws and whatnot, there's a comic shop right there. It's been there for a lot longer than I've been going. And it has, and I mean, you were talking about a customer base of literally tens of thousands. And I went there a couple of weeks ago on our way home from Maine, and I have to tell you, it was a completely different shop. I was actually looking to fill some holes in my new books, newer books, books that were within the last 4 months, 5 months. As I'm winding down my comic collecting, I just had a couple of storylines I wanted to finish. And I have to tell you, they had absolutely zero focus on new books, zero. Enough so that the guy behind the counter that's been there for all of these 30 years just said, yeah, we don't, whatever we have for new books on the rack is it. We're not getting any more. We're not going to back order anything. They have gone straight to the collectible comics market. They're focusing solely on all of their back issues. And that's it. They're not interested in new books whatsoever, which is, I have to tell you, a real shocker for a shop that has a customer base this large. So what I wanted to do is have Mike on because, like I said, he works at the Deep. And I know from what I've seen, I know the Deep seems to be in a different, man, they got a niche that they have hit just right in that city that they really are doing very, very well. But there's a few things that I wanted to try to pick his brain about. And I know Rick and John probably feel the same. And you've probably noticed our fearless leader is out tonight, not feeling well. So keep him in your thoughts and prayers, if you would, please. So with that being said, I want to assure Mike that we're not looking to put you on the spot with your boss or we don't want to get into the nitty-gritties of the business or anything else. So with that being said, Rick, would you go ahead and put up those profit and loss statements that Mike sent us from the Deep for the last 6 months? No, we're not going to do that. So, hey, Mike, what's going
on? Not much. I was just trying to get my Bluetooth to work, but none of my Bluetooths are going to work. So I have no speakers, but it looks like nobody's wearing headphones. So
no, mine wouldn't work either. So can you hear us okay?
I probably just need to restart my machine. So that's probably all it is.
Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, I can hear you all fine.
Okay. All right. We're not getting any feedback from you. So that's good. Sometimes the external speakers will really rack everybody else, but that's not happening. So let's start here. What the heck is going on? What the heck is going on with comic sales?
It all really depends on the shop.
Yeah.
There's several different people that you can talk to. Every shop is basically different. I went on tour with a band called the Deads, and we went from October to November. We went from New York to California, back to the South, and then back in last March and April and May, we went from Canada and all across the U.S. And one of my favorite things to do is to stop and look at shops while I'm on the road to see what everybody's doing. And you get small shops, which are really small, and then you get big shops, and it really depends. It really depends on the market and who's running the shop, because there's so many different little levels at play right now that um, people aren't really paying attention to trends, or they're looking for um, they're looking for the quick in and out, like what's the big money to draw people in to buy. It's kind of like, hey, I'm going to distract you with this so you can come in and buy all this stuff.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so it all depends. Like our comics have always been strong. We've been um, Robbie and Ed and myself and a former employee named Dean we were really big in independent comics. So I think we had probably, even back when we were next to the Hollywood 18 in the small location, we had probably one of the largest independent comic sections, and that's even with like DC's Vertigo and like Image Comics. Like it's
Mhm.
not. We've always been like, we like books, we like to read, so we're not going to steer you wrong on what it is. And it's just kind of like, hey, if we're into this and we can get people to read it, the more people that read it, that's what it is. And like you have, we all still read. I don't. I haven't really. I've dove into so many different things at the shop that I really don't read anymore, um, as much as I like to. But
Right.
um, Robbie and Ed still read. And we have. I mean, there's a lot of. I read from time to time. When I don't collect and read like I used to. I'm talking like 20 books a week, and now it's like one or two.
Yeah.
So my main focus has been toys, so I've been more focused on that than anything else. But it's like you get the people at shops like, I don't like to read. I don't like the direction that Marvel's going. So if and I mean it's a lot. There's nobody really under 30 running the shop. It's like everybody that's older.
Right.
It's a 40, 50-year-old crowd, and the way that everything is going with the environment, with like what Marvel Marvel and DC and everything else is doing, it's just kind of like it's just the political landscape. So a land is just a landmine or landfield or however the
Yeah.
minefield
Minefield. Yeah. It is a
uh,
minefield.
of of like too sensitive, not sensitive enough, and it's a hard thing to do. So it's just kind of like there's some people that's just like, oh, we've got a new gay superhero coming out, and then people, old shop people, are just like, I'm not gay, I don't have a gay audience, I don't care. Like you're forcing it down my throat, and I don't want to buy it, and I don't want to support it. And then it's just kind of like, and then you get other shops that are like, okay, cool, we're gonna open it, like we're gonna bring it in, like it's happening, like we're gonna support it, we're gonna push it, we're gonna sell it, and because they know what their community is. And a lot of the times, it's when it's like these new things are happening in shops and all these stories, and it's just like, I don't like the direction that these books are going in, so I'm going to stop reading. When I stop reading, that means I stop buying books.
Right.
And then so you have a whole bunch of just small shops that don't do anything really. So it's like I look at the only one that comes to mind, and I think it's funny, is um, it's a small shop in Nashville, Franklin, Tennessee, and it's Starbase. It's one of the ones I always like going to because I'm up to Nashville a good bit, and I'm always killing time. But it's a small shop, and like their new release section is just our like A, B, and C section.
Yeah. Exactly. Right.
And so we have a lot of books, and because we all read and we care, and we get people to come in and consistently read. And we have people that drop their titles, drop books, and then add books, and then it just depends on everything else. So the Shazam's question is I don't care. Like at first I was just kind of like, man, that kind of sucks, but like now I don't care as long as the story's good. And that's a lot of the things too. It's kind of like, yeah, you can like, so if we want to make, I mean, it is what it is. So but I mean that right there is that's what I'm saying is like
Yeah, exactly.
the political wokeness, like, and people stop reading, and it's just kind of like, well, there's other books to read that are not that you just have to find them and be open to them. And then some people are like, well, it's not superheroes, so I don't care. And I'm like, well, it is. You have to, if you want to read, it's like, so you have, like, I'll read anything. It doesn't matter. I don't like 100% across the board. I'll read anything. I don't care. As long as the story's good, like, I'll give them my money. And then if the story sucks, I'm going to say that it sucks and go on from there. So, but it's just like I said, people like, I don't like, I don't like it. So, it's like, I'm gonna stop reading it. It's like, that's fine, but there's other things to read. There's other things to read.
Right, and I'm one of those. I've been reading comics for literally almost 50 years. I started pretty young, and it was my generation. A lot of us, we were staunchly DC or Marvel, right? That's kind of how it fell. We were the Ford and the Chevy guys of the comic book world, and where I fell was on the DC side. My world was, the original Batman 66 series, the Filmation cartoons like Aquaman and Superman in the late 60s. And then, of course, it was all Super Friends throughout the entire 70s, and the new adventures of Batman and Robin with Batmite and all that stuff. So, I mean, to say for me, this is kind of an interesting phenomenon, because I think some of it we're coming down to, we're finding out that there's an awful lot of comic fans who are actually character fans, right? They're not necessarily a huge fan of the medium. They're attached to certain characters, and as some of these characters have changed, it's just been easy for them to say, I don't like that, and I'm not going to do that anymore. And that doesn't automatically translate into, I'm going to switch books or I'm going to try something new, because they're not, I'll say it, I'm not necessarily a comic book fan. I'm a character-driven fan. Does that make any sense to you?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's people that, like, they only read Harley Quinn and Deadpool books.
Exactly.
And it sucks, because it's just kind of like, that's all they know. So when they come in, and it's just kind of like, well, like, it's like, nothing about history. Like, you've never read anything. Only, like, first appearance of Deadpool. That's the
right. That was year zero, right?
That was year, like, so
right.
Everything for you starts in 1997. You've never gone any further back, and it's just, you still have people that are character driven, and then you have people that follow writers and artists.
Yep.
And so it like I said, there's so many different ways of collecting. It just really depends on what you want to do, and everybody's different, which is the fun thing about it, because, like, you come in and we got people that are like, I just want to read stories. Just give me the good story. I don't care what it is. And it's just like, crap, that's a good story, and I want to collect good stories.
Right.
Then you have the death of the industry, which with toys and comics, is the speculation market.
Yeah.
Where they come in and it's just kind of like, this book's supposed to be hot. So, like, Amazing Spider-Man 25 volume 6 came out, and Mary Jane Watson was supposed to die, and everybody showed up for that book. Right. And the book was like $20, and it's just like, she doesn't die. And then they're like, well, it's gonna be 26 Amazing Spider-Man 26 next month.
Right.
She's gonna die. Like, they're hyping us up for it, and it's just like, the story ended at 25, so why would killing her would be pointless? So, and it's just kind of like killing, so you had so many people come in, and some of those people, I like them, and they're good people, but then you get some people that are just assholes, because it's just kind of like, what do you mean I didn't get, like, this book and this cover?
Right.
And it's just like, well, we don't give a shit, because, like, tell us the story.
Right.
Like, and it's just like, so you can't, because you're not reading it, you're only collecting it because you want the cover. Like, that's the cover that's going to be $30, because that's what the market says so. And it's just kind of like, we don't care. So
yeah, and somebody commented a minute ago about the variant covers. I have to be honest with you, for, I don't know, 30 years, variant covers have driven me absolutely bat crazy, because I don't see the point. It's a money grab, and there's been some issues that weren't even key issues that have disappeared from the stands just because of a specific artist on a variant cover. And it's just like, are you serious? What, now there's a hole in a storyline that you got to run down. And now you're sucked into that stupid secondary market to get a book that is not worth 3 times the cover. But again, the speculators came in and just raked right through the market. And that's something. The variant stuff has been an issue from the collector standpoint for a long time. In my opinion,
that leads me to a question on this. How much do you think social media has changed that?
Social media has it's made speculation worse. It is streamlined. It's always been like cover A, you order 100 copies. Cover B, you order 50 of. But now because of social media, like cover A is the original. It's the first one. Like B is number 2. A will always be worth more. And it's like, but there's only there's 100 copies of A, but only 50 of B. Like you think B would be worth more since it's less,
right?
Like, it's like no, because it's not A. A comes first, so A will always be more valuable than B. And like so, social media, it's opened that debate. Like, does anybody know what the first appearance of Wolverine is?
Hulk 480 was it?
180.
180, 480. Yeah.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. They say cameo. I say it's his first appearance.
Its first appearance is 181. It's what it's always been. He had a cameo where he's in the back of the page, set a line, and it was a cameo.
Okay. I think I've heard this before.
But like, so this is social media. It's kind of like, well, 180 is his first appearance. Well, 180 is a $300 book. 181 is a $3,000 book. And it's just like these people that can't afford the $3,000 book that have the, $800 book. They're like, well, this is the one that's worth. Did I just lose you?
No, we're here.
All right. My screen just went black, so I was like, "What the heck?" Making sure my battery just didn't die, and I'm fully charged. And that's what a lot of Facebook has got in there, and the social media. It's just like, no, 180 is the first appearance because of this, and they're like, well, what, like, well, and then it's like, no, it's 181. Like it's always been 181. It's just kind of so people. It's just who wants to make more money, and that's all that what it is. Same thing with first appearance of Venom. Like he's in the back of 299. He's in the back of 299, but his first full appearance is Amazing Spider-Man 300. So everybody's like, well, no, he first appears in this. And then
I actually count 252 as his first appearance.
That's Venom's?
Yeah.
Well, that's Eddie Brock.
Yeah, but later on, the Scorpion got the Venom symbiote. They were still called Venom. So to me, it's the suit.
It was Matt. It was technically Matt Gargan. Gargan.
I like just getting people stirred up on Facebook.
that's
252 is his first. But to me, I get that
example right there.
Yeah. But see, like with Wolverine, because it fully shows him from head to toe. To me, that's an appearance. I know they say cameo, but in my mind, hey, it showed him he's there, But I get what you're saying, like because even in the Spider-Man 298, it showed Brock's hand with the symbiote, and it did kind of show his face in 299. But 300 is what they count as his true first appearance.
And then the symbiote spider, the symbiote suit to begin with, it appeared and it was released in 3 different books. The first appearance was in Secret Wars 8, where he got the suit. But then that same month, Marvel Team Up, where Spider-Man teams up with Daredevil, came out that month, and he was in the black suit. And Amazing Spider-Man, I can't remember the issue number, but he shows up in the black suit. Like Secret Wars is over, and now he's back being Peter Parker on Earth in the black suit. And they all 3 came out that month. And technically, the Secret Wars is supposed to be the first appearance of the black suit, but because the team up came out a week earlier, so people are saying, well, that's the first appearance. And it's just like, well, like, where did he get the costume from? He got it in Secret Wars 8. So that's the first appearance. And it's just like, well, this came out like a week early. And it's just like, well, this is so that you get that's social media right there for you, because it turns everything, and you're wrong, I'm right. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know your history.
Right.
And then it's a lot of gatekeeping, and so it's just like you can't have who's faster, Quicksilver or Flash? Like, I know who's better, Namor or Aquaman? Like Green Arrow, Hawkeye. Who's the better archer?
Yeah, right.
Like you can't have or Green Arrow, Shaft, and from Youngblood. Like, who's a better archer? You can't have those conversations. Everything's too arched. It's just there's no like, hey, I'm looking at from your side of the view.
Yeah, right. Yeah, those debates that used to be fun and actually informative are now just like that's like you called my mother a name kind of thing, because you point out the fact that Namor is nowhere near as good as Aquaman. I mean,
and then here's the thing too, like you get like this is the way society has changed, and like everybody has just become. And it doesn't matter like what age they are. A lot of people, everybody's becoming a little bit more sensitive in a way.
Oh, huge.
And like we have been like a niche culture.
Yep.
For so many years,
Yep.
Just nobody comes into the comic shop, and now more and more people come into the shop, and there's so many outsiders. So like we have a debate of like, hey, who's better, this person or this person? And it gets heated.
Right.
And it's a conversation. And then it's just, this is social media, or I guess, modern technology, but, there's a 2-star review. They were arguing and yelling in the store, and I just didn't feel safe. And it was just kind of like, we weren't arguing or yelling in the store. We were having a conversation about that. It got a little intense, but it wasn't anything more than our normal conversation. And then, like, you just have so many people coming in that are not used to the comic culture and the comic shop mentality, and then they're just kind of like, they're off put by it, and they just don't feel. They feel a little like, this is not the place that I want to be. Like, they're always yelling at each other and screaming, and it's just like. No, we're just having a who's better, Superman versus Captain America.
Right.
Like, that's all it is. Like, and then they're not used to it, and like you'll have that conversation. You're having that conversation, and people, I can be ringing somebody up and say, "Hey, how you doing? And do you need anything today?" "No, I'm good." "Okay, cool." And continue having this conversation with somebody while ringing up this customer, and then I get dinged for terrible service because I wasn't paying attention to the customer that I was ringing up. And it's just kind of like, I asked if you need any help, and he, like, we're ringing everything up, and like it's like, well, the employees just kept talking and they kept being rude, and it was just kind of like you're just coming in there and just standing there looking at us like, hey, you need help with it? No. Like, okay, we're gonna go back with our conversation, and then it's just kind of like, and then we get dinged like, they were so rude, and they just wouldn't end their conversation. And it's just kind of like, no, we asked you if you want help. And then you're like, no, we don't need any help. We're just looking at the wall. And then like, okay, like whenever you're ready.
I can understand their complaints for that, because with all the training things I've been through with retail management, the main argument is people generally don't like to interrupt someone's conversation. So if the employees are engaged in a conversation, their new customer is probably not going to interrupt you and ask. They'll wait, and then they'll run through their time course, and then they'll just leave, and they feel that that's on you for not paying attention. So
yeah, even though we've stopped and said, hey, do you need any help? Hey, do you need any help? You ready to check out? And they still go, no. Like, all right.
But that's on the level of the Walmart greeter. They might as well say, hey, welcome to Walmart. Get your crap and get out. It's, but yeah, like I said, we had enough training things, and my butt chewed enough for about the same thing. But it's always the argument. It's like, well, because sociologists will tell you people don't like to interrupt the conversation. And if your employees are engaged in a conversation, then people will not interrupt them to ask, and they'll just leave the store. So which was a big deal when you're sales, trying to make commission, trying to work on commission and all that kind of stuff. And people are coming on the lot, leaving the lot without buying. And it's because you're sitting around hobnobbing and people don't want to approach you or interrupt you or be rude. So, I mean, I understand both sides, and I'm not taking a side of either one of them because it's all situation, contingent. But that's their philosophy behind that, is that they want to interrupt, especially a big old guy like you, Mike. You might get mad,
Oh no, that's the thing. So if you've ever been to the Deep, there's 3 registers. It's 1, 2, and 3.
I've never been there. So I don't know.
And then I'm at register 1. I'm putting new stuff into the system. I got a stack of like toys in front of me. Like and the people walk up and they're like, and it's like, hey, I'm ready to check out. I was like, cool, they'll get you right down there. Well, they're talking. I don't interrupt them. It's your job to interrupt them because you want to get rung up. And like, well, I just don't want to be. And I just look at somebody. I'm like, hey, whoever's working, like, bring this person up and quit talking. And then they're like, well, you didn't have to be like rude about it. I'm like, it's their job. Like, you're supposed to be the rude. Like, you're supposed to walk up there and go, hey, I'm ready to check out. But if you don't do it, then I got to do it. And I got this in front of me. So you're stopping me from doing this so I can do this. So like, I get a little gruff with some people sometimes, but I'm like, hey, and it's not your fault. Like I tell everybody, like, I have one guy that's been coming in all week. I was like, dude, I'm toys. Like, I don't know. You have to ask them at the counter. And I put stuff out, and he's just like, what about this? Like, dude, I don't know. Like, you got to ask toy. I'm the toy guy. You got to ask them. And then they go and then he goes and asks them, and then, like, they don't know. Because we got some kids in there that don't know what they're doing, and they're learning. And it's just like, crap. Like, yeah, man, I got you. And he's like, I thought you did toys. And it's just like, yeah, I know, but, like, you're asking the wrong person. So, like, I might as well help. There's not a manager on the floor right now, so I guess that's me. So, but it's you have to do what you got to do.
Yeah, no, I get it. I worked retail once and wouldn't do it again. I'm just not interested. And I was actually the general manager of a motorcycle dealership, but I'll never do it again. That was one of those deals where those were my people, right? And it was still abject misery because you guys, if any of you have done it, you and Rick, you know exactly why it's abject misery, because people want. Does that make it? They just flat out want, whether it makes sense or not. One more question. I want to pick your brain on one more thing on the comics, and then I promise we'll get you over to the toys.
Oh, there's toys, to board games, to trading cards. There's so much in a shop these days.
My nephew, years ago, because of course I was reading comics, he kind of got into them. And then I watched this thing, right, where economically, somewhere in the line, he decided that digital comics made more sense for him financially, right? It wasn't very long that bootlegging those same exact digital comics made more financial sense for him. And he was going to these immense websites. This was, 10, 12 years ago even. These immense websites where guys were literally photocopying books that they were buying off the shelves and selling them for pennies. And before it was, there was big digital comics. This is what these guys were doing. And there were thousands of these people in and out of these sites. I was actually shocked by it, that people were, they'd buy a book, for $2. And by the time they got done photocopying it and people would pay 10 cents to bootleg it, he'd make $50 off a book. And he was doing this for 30, 40, 50 books a week. There were sites like that all over the place. Now digital comics are considerably more mainstream, I suppose you could say, than it was back then. But I have to tell you, after seeing him just a couple of weeks ago, the bootleg aspect of that more mainstream digital format is just as strong as it ever was. Do you see a lot of that? That you have a lot of customers that are coming in and griping about prices when they can literally go steal it off the internet.
Well, a lot of people, they're still, I haven't looked at it in a while. I stopped. There used to be this website called Torrent Freak, and it gave you like all the torrent news about everything that's going on. But it more dealt with like movies and music, and not a lot with books. But like a lot of the books would companies would send out. They would send out a lot more cease and desist, and they made it harder.
Right.
And that's why they were like, oh, well, now we're doing this format to where you have to have a certain form, like e-reader. You know, it's like, oh, so if somebody's doing this, like it's not, the file's not going to work with the system. You have to have,
right.
You have to have this. And it was cool to read the old digital stuff back in the day, because it's like, hey, I want to read the first 10 issues of Amazing Spider-Man.
Right.
The first 10 issues of Fantastic Four. The Marvel Masterworks is out of print. It's too expensive, but I just want to read it because I just haven't read them in a while.
Right, exactly.
And so like going back and reading like that old stuff that I never read before was cool. But then like DC and Marvel were like, well, hey, we're going to do these collections. They're all going to be in black and white. And it's 15 books for $10.
Right.
Or so it was just kind of like there was always these. It was basically, it's like they never like, hey, you want to read this? There's always these options for it. It's a certain type of person. Bootlegging, like I remember I was at when I worked at one of the news stations here in Huntsville. Like this guy was reading Walking Dead, but he was reading it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm reading The Walking Dead. I'm like, do you really like reading it like off of this on like this little this little screen on here?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I mean, I just really want to read it. And I'm like, hold on. I went out to my car and popped my trunk because I always carried those on me because there were always quick reads, easy reads. And I was like, here
Absolutely.
it is.
Yep.
Like, have fun. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's a lot easier than reading the screen. He's like, thanks. Yeah. So unless you were just a diehard to wanting to read the screen or read it off your phone, like, I mean, even you can really read them off your phone at the time. And you could, but it wasn't great. But it's still like, it wasn't fun. It's not like he said, you got to hold them in your hand, like the physical. There's something about being physical, reading a book physically.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's just like, I've got a Kindle, and I had a gift card, and I was like, cool, I got a couple of audio books, and then I got like 2 trades. And it was just like, cool. It's kind of nice to take across. Like I can't bring a whole bookshelf with me going across America, but I've got it all in my Kindle. So that digital aspect of buying it was nice, but like there's no, like I never saw the point of bootlegging it because it's just kind of like it's $2.99 to $3.99 an issue, and basically it was just like at the time when it's just like it's a pack of smokes or it's an extra shot at the bar,
right?
It's an extra beer, like what do you rather do? Like I'd rather have the comic book than something else. There's always a balance of in your life of like, well, I can have this or this. Like, which one do you want?
Right.
And so to me, that goes back into the like, it's cool that people just want to read. Like, I just want to read it. I don't want to pay for it. I'm like, that's cool. But the libraries were not really, I mean, Huntsville Library right now, it's a lot better than it used to be. But they still have a bad problem with theft on a lot of their books. But digital's still fun and it's nice, but it still doesn't beat going in every Wednesday. The shop experience is great.
I know, and that's where I'm at. I love my characters, but the one thing that I will definitely miss the most is that shop experience, that camaraderie. That being brought up in an extremely rural place, we didn't have a shop that ever made it more than 2 years. So, we even had that extra experience where sooner or later you were going to end up in a whole new shop and you would end up with new customers and new owners. But I am going to miss that. And of course, while I'm up in Huntsville, I'll always be stopping in at the Deep, if nothing more than to just see what's out for collected editions or see if there's an omnibus that's come out that I just absolutely positively have to have, or I'm not sure I will ever stop buying comics. I know I will never stop reading them. if that makes any sense. But
Yeah.
the new books, and it's all story driven for me, they're just not good stories of the characters that I'm incredibly attached to. Geez, we don't even have a Justice League book anymore. And that's happened before in the past, but not for the same reasons that it doesn't exist now. It's just, that's just where I'm at.
Well, the thing too about what Marvel and DC are both bad about this now, but it's one of those like we got to tie it into the movie.
Yeah, I know.
We got to tie it into the movie, and it's just kind of like, well, we're working on this Justice League movie, and we're going to see what it does, so we're going to delay the book until this happens, and it sucks because like it's just kind of like I really love this character, and it's just like everybody wants a new Blade book. And like, well, they're not going to do a Blade book until the movie comes out. Well, now there's this writer's strike, and the movie's delayed. So it's just like all these plans for Blade, like we can't do. And then other people are like, well, cool. Like I want to bring Blade into my story and do this. Like you can't. He's sitting on hold because this movie is on hold.
Yeah.
So we can't do anything with the character until like. And so you got to like. So they just the studio where it's they're not paying attention to each other. And it's just like, oh, we got to do this. And it was like Nick Fury went from a white dude to a black dude because Sam Jackson played him in a movie. And apparently we were too stupid enough to realize who Nick Fury is. like this white dude, why is this white dude Nick Fury? Like I thought he was black. And it was just kind of like, oh, no. And then it's one of those like,
I know where you're going. Yeah, I know.
You're treating us like we're idiots, and it's just kind of
exactly.
Like, but it's just like, but then it's cool because then it's like, well, we brought in Nick Fury, and this is how we brought it in, and it's a cool way, and you got this really cool character. But then Sam Jackson's contract runs out, and he's no longer doing anything with Marvel. So Nick Fury's taken out of comic books because we wrote off old white man Nick Fury. But then Sam Jackson's renegotiating his contracts. We can't use that character for anything, and it's start stop because of the movie.
Right.
The variant covers, to tackle this issue real quick, I never had an issue with because like as long as I got one, that's all that matters.
Right.
Like if you're a completist for everything, like I get it, but then again, like if you're a completist, then you're gonna have to get the incentives. So like the 1 in 25, the 1 in 50s, the 1 in 100s.
Right.
And I know a lot of people that are like, I ain't paying $100 for that comic book.
Right.
And you don't have to. And then so it's like 10 years later, that $100 book is now $5. And you're like, cool, I got it. But like, it doesn't, like, I never saw the point of like, I wanted to read the book to get the book. So it's not the cover I wanted, but oh, well, I still got it. It's better than not having.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I started reading comics in the 70s where 99% of the covers had absolutely nothing to do with the content of that book. Right? Okay, so they were flash, they were meant for the spinner racks at the bus stop, right? I mean, literally, that's what comics were. So I've never been a big cover guy. I think it was just programmed from childhood because, like I said, 99% of the time it had absolutely nothing. There were characters on covers that were never in that book, but they're all over the cover. Plastic Man was red and goofy looking. He showed up on covers all the time with like Brave and the Bold and stuff in the 70s. He wasn't in that book. But there he is on the cover, I mean, I get it. I really, and I appreciate it, Mike. I just wanted to pick your brain because comics, man, I don't know. And I agree with you. It seems to be even more so than politically driven. It seems to be movie driven, which is just driving me nuts because it's just
I never thought Star Wars would be seasonal. Like, I've got all these new figures on the shelf, just sitting there, like why are these still on the shelf? These should be gone. Then the new episode of Mandalorian comes out, and then we got all this whole new season of Mandalorian, and then all of a sudden, it's gone. It's all disappeared, and it's just kind of like, oh, hey, out of sight, out of mind. So I need to go get it, and it sucks because there's properties that I thought that were like, oh, it's all year round, like Marvel Legends, and it's the same way. It's kind of like even Funko. It's like all the Spider-Man stuff that's coming out right now. Like the movie's not out yet, so nobody cares. But
Right.
as soon as the movie comes out, everybody's going to be wanting these figures.
Right.
And so it's just kind of like, well, hey, they've already been out for like 3 months and I've already sold out. I'm not getting any more. Well, the movie just came out. I need the figures. And now the figures are already ridiculous. It's like, hey, I don't control that. So, and then when I went to MegaCon this year, we was talking to everybody. And we met this guy, and he's up in North Dakota or South Dakota one. He's going to open up a shop. And he's like, I'm gonna open a shop, but it's gonna be a comic shop. I'm not really gonna do cards, and I'm definitely not doing any manga. They're like, no manga or anime. And I was like, you're stupid for doing that, and you'll only be in business for 6 months.
Right. Exactly.
And like the best example that I can give is late 90s when Lord of the Rings came out. That saved our shop. Sales for books this is when we're next to Hollywood 18. It's a super small store, nothing like what we are now.
Right.
And like it's two rows of back issues, one wall of toys, and like that's when one set of Case of Legends, like that went on the wall. And
Right.
It
Exactly.
took forever for that to sell. And like Lord of the Rings card game saved us. And it did so well for the shop, and it was great. And Magic the Gathering has saved the shop. Pokemon has saved the shop. Yu-Gi-Oh has saved the shop. And now when you can't even go to Barnes & Noble or Books A Million and find a news, like they stopped doing, it was either 2012 or 2016 or 2008. I can't remember. It's a big wide gap. They stopped doing newsstand comics.
Yes.
So you can't go into Barnes & Noble or Books A Million anymore and find new issues of comics.
Right.
There's just newsstand is completely destroyed. But when you walk in, there is a huge manga section.
Huge. Yeah.
And I try to get my nephew who's 12 and his friends like, hey, I got a whole bunch of comics. And it's just kind of like, nah, we're into My Hero, Demon Slayer, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, all the like Hunter x Hunter, and it's just like, okay, cool. I have to shift gears now and like
Right.
all right, this is what they want. So it's basically this 30 and up crowd is still reading comics, with a little bit of blend with a younger crowd, but they're all into the manga and anime and all that. And it's just, I have no idea what this is. Parents don't know what it is. So,
Right.
but so like, that's a really good example of what's saving shops right now. And it's just, you walk into a place and there's no manga. It's just like, if you can start carrying like a little bit of more manga, you'll get more people in. Because if I have to drive, like my friend Travis is the best example. His shop is very small and it's 20 minutes from his house.
Mhm.
They have a very small anime manga section, but it's an hour to the closest Target or Books A Million where they're huge manga. So it's just kind of like,
Right.
you can go here, like this will tide me over instead of having to drive an hour one way and an hour back. And it's just so much easier for shops to pick up on that trend and be like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what you need to do. And talk to your audience and see what they're into. And that's the best way to do it, because you have more people out there. And if you're just closed up and like, I'm not reading books because of, I don't like the stories that they're telling, or I don't like what they did to my characters, you're basically killing your shop.
I know. And that's, yeah, I know. That's why I will continue to buy toys at shops, if that makes any sense, because that's what I intend to do. And my local guy down here in Birmingham, he's a super nice guy, but he's in a bad way. I will continue to buy old graphic novels from him, collected editions, specifically the G.I. Joe stuff. And to be perfectly honest with you, in that instance, I will be spending more doing that than I would have been on my weekly books, because I got that in common with you. My weekly pick list has been dwindling for years. So
I don't have, with me doing all the freelance photography stuff that I do, like I just don't have time to sit down and read a book. And so when I do, I buy the trades. So I've traded one vice for another.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Oh yeah. I get that. I'm not out. I'm just out of new books, and that may change. I mean, it's all subject to change. The way they rewrite universes now, whatever DC's next big event will be within the next probably 18 months, I may pick it up again. I don't know. Just right now, it's just not for me, and it's not the first time it's happened.
One of the things too that goes back to the social media aspect of everything is I got to meet Josh Williams, and my friend Robbie that works the manager at the Deep. He does Pop Culture Philosophers, and he does comic book review shows. So that's how he got to meet Josh Williams, and he's a writer for DC.
Yep,
he's writing Green Arrow right now, and so I got to meet him. I became friends with him, and now it's just kind of like, hey, I have an incentive now to read Green Arrow because I can communicate with him via Twitter or Discord, and like, hey, what's going on with the book, and just have a conversation with, like, I'm talking to the artist and the writer.
Before, right.
Like, so far it's like the letters page in the back of the issues.
Yeah, right.
That was it. But now, like, on social media, like, hey, I'm talking to my buddy Josh, and like I've got a relationship with him, and it's cool, and it's nice, and it's fun, and then so he says, hey, let me do this. I met this random dude off of Instagram, liked my photography, and it was like, cool, like, who are you? Let me started talking to him, and he's a comic book writer, and he just did a book called How I Became a Shoplifter for Sumerian Comics. And and if you're, and like, we're roughly the same age, so like if you're early, like late 30s, early to mid 40s, like you truly appreciate it, because it's like it's all takes place when if you're a kid in the teens in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool guy that I just got to know through Instagram, that I've never met in real life, but like anything he does that I push and I support, like I show him the support that I do, and then he supports me. And so it's kind of weird. And like when his book came out, it was like, hey, you gotta, I'm on Robbie, like, you gotta like order this book, let's push it, let's sell it. And it's like, it's never a good seller. It's a small independent book. And then it's just like, no, let's get it. Like, let's go. Like, I'm hyping my friend up. I want to get my friend to be successful. And it's just like, he's my friend, but I've never really met him in real life. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
So like that, we sold out of that book, and he's got the fatherhood is the part 2. And it's coming out hopefully in September or October of this year. But it's one of those like, man, this is so cool. Like that's a cool thing with social media. It brings artists and writers and the fans closer.
Right.
I guess it breaks kayfabe if you follow wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Yep. Okay, let's do toys. What's selling and what's not?
It depends on what's hot and if I can get it before Walmart or Target get it.
Yeah.
The G.I. Joe's, Legends, Star Wars, Black, and the Vintage Collection, they are always strong sellers. But they're up and down. Funko's up and down.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, Masters of the Universe is up and down. There's a lot of the niche stuff, which I think people are going to like go crazy for. It's hit or miss. So it's one of those like y'all didn't go crazy for this figure, so I didn't order a lot of this figure, but now this is the figure that everybody wants. So it's just like the D&D. Nika came out with the 6-inch versions of the old 80s D&D figures.
Yep.
not the cartoon, but the actual like
The game, yeah.
the game is, and so it's like Grim. I cannot remember his name. He's the dude. He's one of the bad guys. He's got the snake on him. Nobody wanted him, but like when Warduke came out, Warduke sold out, and I was like, why is Warduke more popular than like Graham? Like, it's like they're both bad guys. It's just he has that more iconic look, I guess. So, like, I just remember playing with the figures. I don't remember their names. I didn't learn their names until I started recollecting them like 3 years ago during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, it depends. It depends on what sells. My biggest pet peeve is, so this is like, is anybody do Masterverse?
Shane does, right? Yeah.
So Stratos came out. It was the Stratos figure for the Masterverse, and it was at Target. And it came out 3 months ago. It's on sale now at Target for $10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now getting it in.
Oh, that sucks.
And I'm really starting to hate this. What is that figure called? Oh, Too Bad. They did Too Bad. Deluxe, Target exclusive. Well, it was a soft release for Target. They got it. Now it's being solicited. So it's like, do I order that? Because everybody should have already got it from Target. I don't know if I need to order it or not. Because so that's a problem that a lot of people are having. It's this fake. It's one of those like Nika or NECA will put out like, hey, Walmart is early getting these 6 figures early. Target's getting these 6 figures early. And then they go for general release at this date. And so they come in at Target and Walmart and they sell out. And then Rick, perfect example is that Frankenstein that you were looking for. I think it was Frankenstein. Was it?
Frankenstein.
The one NECA figure that you were looking for?
I don't remember.
It was because I remember.
What, the last time I was in there, did you talk me in getting that Hacks figure?
No. This was you were trying to
watch him. He'll talk you into stuff.
Yeah. Well, you already want it. You just got to go. I just twisted your arm to go
Just a
ahead and get
push.
it. But no, Rick was looking for something, and it was like an exclusive to Walmart. But like he needed it because he wanted to do photos of it, and then it's like, well, it's general release, and it's just like, well, everybody else is going to do photos of it now, and it's kind of like I want to get it before everybody else does because I want to do photos. But then
sounds like
people
something I'd say.
and then it's just like, but it sucks because it's like that's cool. Like, hey, we got you the figure, and now we're waiting for the general release for everybody else. Or you go to, let's say, like, hey, this is an exclusive figure, and we're going to release it to Walmart or Target. It's a soft release. What was the G.I. Joe, the first Cobra Island wave?
Oh yeah,
Each head and the Baroness.
Yeah,
so hard to find.
Right.
Couldn't find it anywhere. And then a year later, I'm able to order Baroness.
Right.
And so it's just, what is the point of like, why don't you just tell us like, hey, this is going to be an early exclusive that will be able to be ordered later. And so that's what I hate. It's just like, it's not.
It's kind of like a bait and switch, isn't it? When you think about it, I mean, they're feeding a line to the market that these are exclusive when they're actually not. They're short-term exclusives, but they're not permanently exclusive. Yeah, I get that.
And it sucks is because it's like a lot of this stuff will be sitting on in shelves at Target and Walmart on clearance, and I'm just now getting it in, and it's like, I'm screwed.
That's with the Storm Shadow Spirit Wave that has all of a sudden showed up en masse from last fall. Well, you got to ask the question, where were all of these figures then? And how many more times are we going to do this? Because I was sitting here going, I kept the Python Patrol bats, right? I was going to get 4 of them, 2 officers and 2 of the Vipers, right? And I hemmed and I hawed and I screwed around, and you know what? I didn't buy any of them because somehow, some way, they went on clearance at about the same time that they tore apart the Target over here in Trustville, right?
Yeah.
So now they're not, and that's not the only Target around here they're doing that to. So they're not.
All of ours are getting that too,
right? They're not doing anything except a ton more Spirits and Storm Shadows and Cobra officers showed up by the caseload. So now I'm sitting here going, well, I guess I shouldn't be too awfully upset because odds are pretty good that those Python Patrol figures are going to show up again in mass because this is how they produce, right? So what, just before Christmas, we're going to get slammed with a bunch of figures that are a year old again. And then I don't understand. And I honestly don't expect you to answer that question because I don't think anybody can. I don't understand what has happened with distribution and delivery, I guess.
They say that everything is caught up. They said that everything is caught up and then that everything is fine from COVID. And this is when I talked to 3 different distributors. And so and it's just like, this is what this one person has said. This is what this one has said. This one has said. Like 2 of these are kind of contradictive. And so it's like, hey, well, I was talking to them. They say this, what's going on with this. I want to know more about this. And like you just, it's one of those, like you get in there, like I got one distributor that I want to murder.
Yeah.
Like, if I could get away with murder, like this guy would be dead. I was talking to his boss because I had to go to the warehouse and I was talking to the boss and he's like, how's everything going? And I was just like, I don't know. If it's not on your website, I get it from Entertainment Earth. And he was just like, what? I was like, yeah, if it's not on your website, I get it from Entertainment Earth or Diamond. And he's like, well, why didn't you talk to, our rep? And I was just, dude, don't answer phone calls or respond to emails. And I did my last order because I got to do everything blind.
Right.
What sucks? It's, hey, this figure's coming out in October. Well, it's January 15th, and I got to make my order for October. I don't know if it's going to hit or miss. So it's a complete gamble. So I put my order in with this dude, and none of it even shows up.
Oh,
so I'm sitting there scrambling, trying to order it from all these other places, and it's just kind of like, I'm tired of that. So I just if it's not on the website, I don't get it. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Like, this is like, here's my orders for this. Like, this could be your money, but like he doesn't want the money apparently. And they were just
you gotta cut out the middleman, and it's pretty ridiculous when your distributor's the middleman. You know what I mean? Because I can get it someplace else. I'm supposed to start with you first to be let down every time. Nah.
Well, it's weird too because the way the shipping works, and there's still stuff, and there's still stuff stuck in ports.
Yeah.
And so that is slowly getting released, and I think a lot of that, some of the overflow that we're getting. The perfect example is Silverhawks by Super 7. The Wave 1 has been stuck in port for almost a year. Wave 2 came over, no problem. But Wave 2's been out for about 3 months now, and we're now getting Wave 1 because it has been stuck in a port. And Brian, and like that dude at Super 7, Brian is, you can get on Twitter, Instagram, ask him any question. He'll respond to you as best he can. It's not like Hasbro where you have like the 2 people for G.I. Joe where they give you the spiel. Like, no, this is like, I'm talking to the president of the company and he's telling me like, this is the problem that we're having and this is what we want to do. And so it's like, Super 7 is more expensive, but I'll try to support them just because. And same with Mezco, like hey, we have a problem and this is the problem.
Right.
And then they're not gonna tap dance around it. Funko, I don't know what their problem is. I'm getting stuff that I was supposed to get in October. I'm getting in March and April.
Yeah.
And they're having shipping issues. They're having warehouse issues. They're having so much difficulty on so many levels. And it's just like, it sucks because there's some people that are doomsaying like Funko's going out.
Right.
The Funko's on its way down. and it's because the company's not being run right. There's a change of leadership, and like I don't know if you heard about that warehouse in Arizona or not, and that was
The one where everything had to be destroyed.
Basically, they were paying more in rent
Yeah,
than they were in profit.
right.
So they destroyed them for the insurance, and I sent out everybody that I know that works at Funko. That's like, I will come up there with a fleet of box trucks and take them all to the children's hospital.
Exactly. Yeah.
Across the country. And my friend was just like, Mike, the biggest box, like you could get 3 semis and it's still a drop.
Yeah.
You know, like, what do you mean three 90-foot semis and it's just a drop of what's in the warehouse?
Right.
And it's just like, oh man, like that's a lot of product just going to waste.
Big time.
And they had to raise their prices too. And I mean, I get it. The price of oil goes up, price of plastic goes up,
right.
And it goes back to political. You know, when somebody's in power, gas goes up. When somebody's in power, gas goes down.
Right.
And it's
cyclical.
And so it's one of those like, oh hey, we boom when we do this, but then it's like, all right, you got to put on the brakes and go back to this. I mean, it sucks. But
it's hard. I mean, I this one's for Rick because I think I'm obligated. I have to say it at least once every episode. McFarlane. Rick finds my accent funny, so I always say McFarlane. How is it that the Todd father can put ads up, and in 2 weeks the figure that he's pumping as coming soon is on the store shelves? 90% of the time, if you look at his track record over the last year, he'll say, like the gold label, Batman Vampire, Batman Joker Vampire, right? He announces those figures, and 2 weeks later, they're on the store shelf. He's smart enough not to advertise things before.
Because he doesn't do direct.
Right.
So basically, before it would go China to Hasbro to everybody.
Right.
So it goes China to McFarlane to everybody. Now it's China to Walmart, China to Target, China to EE, China to Diamond. And and I'll say this, Big Bad Toy Store does not have direct distribution with they are a retailer and they get from the same channels that I get. So
right, exactly. Yeah.
So sometimes they get lucky, sometimes they don't. They might get their stuff first from Entertainment Earth because they order more than me.
Sure.
And they bought the whole thing out. But that's the problem. That McFarlane, it's kind of like McFarlane knows what he's got in the warehouse. And it's just like, hey, this is what's in the warehouse. This is what's about to come out.
Right.
What I'm going to make the announcement for. Here we go. Let's go.
Yep.
And bam, there it is. And
it's just slick. I mean, it just, I don't know.
Well,
That's a lot of people nuts.
But but he still has to have. It's still a control because he's a middleman.
Yes.
But so now that's why we're having this distribution problem is because it's going from warehouse A is going to Target, warehouse B is going to Walmart, warehouse C is going to Entertainment Earth, but there's delays at warehouse C, so A and B are going to get them before C, and then C and B are going to get their stuff before A because there's a delay or a sickness or a mass firing or a layoff, and so it's not. There's no. He has. It all comes in, it all goes out. Whereas it's just kind of like, hey, it comes in. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right.
So, and they're trying to. We always believe that. I remember, like, hey, Toy Fair magazine. Here's the things coming soon.
Coming soon, right?
And then it's like, okay, McFarlane, he does. Hey, this is what's coming soon. Hasbro does this big show, and then they do a big push on Twitter. And so what are they making off of the view time of all these shows and events? And what is the click rate from Twitter? What are they getting paid on that? It's kind of like we don't have we make more off of like, hey, this figure's coming, like the like the rock and roll and shipwreck and all those figures, like that like they probably made more off of that announcement than they will the actual figures, because
That's a great point. Yeah, because
we're all watching it, we're
here.
rewatching it, like we're talking about it,
Yeah,
we're clicking it, we're sharing it, it's going everywhere, and it's just like they're making money off of that. So it's like, why do we need to make toys when we can just give you digital renders of toys, and we'll make more off the ad sale? So
yeah, that's a great point. Because let's face it, we've been playing that game with Hasbro, especially with the classified line, for what, 3 years now?
yeah.
I mean, and I get it. COVID was a massive wrench in the works, but some of this hasn't made sense even within COVID, because it doesn't seem like everybody else came to a screaming halt. Not to that extent, anyways. You know what I mean? I was still getting my Todd Father stuff regularly, but the classified line especially has been a real horror show in a lot of ways.
Well, I don't know if you remember I can't remember what event that they were talking about, but they basically came out and said, hey, we're sorry about this first wave of figures. We really thought you would like the new video game style look.
Yes, right. I remember. Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, are you stupid?
Yeah.
Like, this is a video game that nobody's going to play, and you base the figures off of that?
Yep.
Good Lord, who thought of like where was the thinking in that? And then so they basically had to go back and just this crap put on. That's why they did it. I think everything came to a stop, is because it's like, let's redo these figures.
Right.
Let's redo these figures. And then COVID happened, and it's one of those, like, it's just a trend where just everything just piled up onto each other, and it's just like, well, crap, we'll get it out when we get it out, because now you got ports are shut down, and we can't get things out of China because the factory's shut down, and we can't get it into the US. So what are we going to do except sit and wait?
Yeah, I know.
And then and it's weird too, because like I'm expecting something from Mattel, and then like I never got like, hey, what's up? Like, what's up with this? And they're like, oh, blah 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 blah. And then finally, I clicked on the right thing and sent them everything. And this one person, I got the right person. They're like, look, we're having delays. We only got a partial shipment in. So we were able to do that. We were expecting it at this time, but we're now expecting it to be in like in July. We can't really say, like, confirm that it'll be in July, but like we're hoping that it comes in July. Right. But we do have it. We know the figure is it's being made. We're just still waiting for the other half of our shipment. And it's like, cool, thank you. I appreciate that. And like, I have no worries that I'm going to get, like, it might take to December, but I know that I'm going to get this figure. Right. But that was a problem that I had with distribution. It's one of those, like, hey, I only got one of these figures. I ordered 8. Where are the other 7? And it's just like, well, somewhere. Dorkside has always been the bane of my existence for so long, and I'm glad to see that they're that they finally went out of business, because they'd be like, well, you only ordered $15,000 worth of stuff, and we got another company that we have to work with that sold $100,000.
Okay, yeah, the bigger.
And then it's just like, but then for some odd reason, the warehouse guy's commission would have been bigger. The warehouse guy's commission is bigger when I get my $15,000 order versus $100,000. Like, how is 3% off of 15,000 bigger than 3% off 100,000? Right. And he's like, oh, well, like it comes off like the upper management's got to get their cut, and then I get my cut, and I really get like 2.5 instead of 3. And I'm like, it's still more than mine. Yeah, right. And it's like they don't care, like they don't, and they got bought out by somebody else, and like you get some people in there that love us and still care, and then you get a bunch of like our rep's a sports guy. So it's just kind of like, he's like, I don't know what toys are. I'm a sports guy. Get video games and sports. I'm like, me too, but I also know enough about this. Like, if I work in this, I'm going to learn this. Like What are you gonna do? You can't. It's just crazy on like the level of what like the distribution is, and then so like I said, when we get it, and I love this one more than any other because I know that I'm guaranteed when it hits, I'm guaranteed to get it.
Right.
But
right.
if I'm not able to order it, it's like I get it, and then 3 months later it shows up everywhere else. So at least I know I can get the pre-order. I was like, I don't have enough for the shelf, but at least I know I got my pre-orders covered.
Right. Rick, John, what have you got? You got anything that you want to put past Mike here?
Oh, Rick, you got anything?
He gave us so much information. I mean, it's been a great time.
I mean,
I didn't even have to stick to my questions. I mean, it's a great interview.
There's so much that just sucks about the industry that makes it work. And it goes back to like, even like the one good thing that I will say that I love about my shop is that I've killed speculators.
Good.
We had a guy that would work there before me that would give deals, and he had no idea what was going on. And it was just like this thing that it retails for $20. It cost us 15, and he's selling it for 10. And the dude that he's selling it to is turning around and selling it for 50 and giving him a cut.
Right.
And it's just like, we ain't doing that. Like, no more. Like,
right.
And then like we had a bunch of people came in and be like, "Where's my deal?" Like, what deal? And he's like, "Well, so and so used to give me a deal all the time." And I'm like, "Yeah, I ain't him, and he ain't giving nobody any more deals. And if you do get a deal, he's getting fired."
Right.
And it's just like, what? And so basically, I had to, like, me and him got into it, like on the floor, arguing and screaming. And I remember Ed came up to me. He's like, "Look, I was about to fire you because of everything that's going on, but I found out you're overworked and you're trying to get this guy to work, and he's not doing the work.
Right.
So, like, just if you have a problem with it, come find me or call me." And it's just like, and I'll take care of it.
Right.
And it's just like, all right, as long as I just know that we need help. So he finally left, and I really want him to come back and work because he's fun to work with, but it's just like he brings that speculation crowd and like the flipping crowd. And it's fun too, because like there's figures that I look out, like I walk on for all the restocks and my ordering, I'll see stuff and I'll check eBay real quick, and there's something that's like $50 or $60. I still got it on the shelf for 20, and it's just kind of like, that's cool. I'll give it like 2-3 weeks, see if it moves. If not, then I'll just throw it up on eBay. Because there's only like 1 or 2 of them left, and people have already got it that wanted it. So,
yep.
But then it's fun, but those guys just, man, it really makes it hard. And then the other thing that I hate is if you do a pre-order, it's like, hey, I'm going to do a pre-order on this figure, this new wave of G.I. Joe, this new wave of Joe's that's coming out. If you pre-order it, you get 15% off. It used to be 20% off. All pre-orders were 20% off, but because the prices of going up, like I can only do 15% now.
Sure.
Which sucks is that I know that if things don't change, it's the discount's going to keep dropping. But it's like 15% off of any pre-order, and you get people that are like, I want to buy it, like it's coming on X day, to my knowledge. Well, I have to have it now, and I saw it, and I went ahead and bought it. I was like, where'd you get it from? It's like, I got it from GameStop. So it's a $27.99 figure. A GameStop set got it for $33.99. So basically, if you had waited, you could have got 2 figures for the price of what one cost you.
Right.
It's like, well, I got to get it now. I'm like, well, yeah, but you just could have waited. Like,
maybe he wanted to take some pictures, Mike.
Right. That was you, Rick. like I understand like being a toy photographer and wanting to do the photos and looking for its first, like being first for the toy photos, like that, and like that makes sense. And then like now you get people that are like, I want to do toy reviews, and it's just like I got to get everything first before everybody else does, and it's like, man, it don't matter. Like you're small enough that nobody cares.
Right.
So, but it's crazy on some of this level of people's. I got one guy, he's in this group. I don't think he's doing a movie review right now, so he's not going to be watching this. Daddy's going to watch it on the replay, but he's in the group. But he told me to pre-order some figures for him, and I said, okay, cool, I will. And then he called me and he said, cancel my order. Like, I don't think I'm going to get it. And I said, okay. So cancel his order. And then one of the figures that he has is going for like $70 on eBay. So I'm like I got nobody that wants this thing. Like it's ridiculous. It's not going to sell in store. I'm just going to throw it online. And like later that day it sold. And I was going to go to pack it up and I was looking at the address and it was him. Like he canceled his order and then bought it from me off eBay for 3 times the amount. Because it's a $15 figure that you just paid $70 for. And so it's like I wrote him a note and I was like, hey, thanks for appreciating it. You know, we're local to you. It's the blah, 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 blah. And he's like, you're an asshole. I'm like, dude, like you told me to cancel your order. He's like, yeah. And then I thought about it. And then like, that's the thing. And by the way, that's one thing that I hate. I absolutely hate. And it's like, all right, I got it pre-ordered from Amazon. I got it pre-ordered from Hasbro Pulse. I got it pre-ordered from The Deep, and I got it pre-ordered from Target. And whichever one shows up first, I'm canceling the order.
Right.
Well, everybody doesn't care except for me because I'm stuck with it.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Right.
So it's like I can't. There's one me. So that's what I hate when people are like, hey, I put in a pre-order with you for this. I'm like, cool. Hey, your item's in. I already got it. How did you already get it when you pre-ordered it with me? I got it in today. Like I'm holding yours in my hand. Well, I found it already. Like, well, what do you mean you found it already? Like, well, I had pre-ordered it from Walmart or X place also. Like, thanks for supporting, you know, I got it pre-ordered from Amazon. Like, quit giving Jeff Bezos money. Like, he doesn't need it. And it's just like, well, it's free ship. It's like I got free shipping on it. And it was just like, yeah, but you're going to be here anyway. So, like, you're coming to pick up your comics. Like, it was already here. So that's what I hate. It's like, everybody's like, well, would you cancel my order? I'm like, I still ordered. I can't cancel it. Once I say confirm, commit, I am committed to it. There's no going back and canceling it. Like, I don't have a warehouse.
Maybe he wanted to take pictures, Mike.
Well, I'm also talking about other people that don't want to take photos that have to have it before everybody else does.
Yeah, some of that is just that neurotic stuff. It doesn't have, you know, there's no real point in it. They just have to have it before everybody else.
But it's like, and that's what I hate is kind of like, cool, now I'm stuck with, like, so Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, everybody came to me already and was like, I don't want that set. I'm not doing the Marvel movie figures anymore. Okay, great. So I lowered my numbers on those. I only ordered 6 cases. Normally, I would order like 10 to 12. I only ordered 6. And this Captain America wave, the Rock Viper build the figure. People were like, I don't know. And then it's like, I only ordered 8 cases. So I'm cutting my numbers back.
Right.
And then it's kind of like, hey, these are the people that if you pre-ordered it from me and then you keep canceling, I just don't order it for you. So it's one of those like, hey, I got it already. Cool. Like, I don't even call you anymore. Like, you show up and it shows up. It's like, hey, I thought I pre-ordered this. And like, I don't know if you ordered it from somewhere else, man. Like it's like, hey man, it's in. I already got it. I don't need it. Like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna stop. Like, I just stopped ordering stuff for people.
I didn't know you did pre-orders.
Yeah. 15% off pre-order. That's why I always would message you, but I already see that sometimes that you have stuff, so I don't even message you.
Well, you know, I reach out to you to let you know what I'm looking for, but that's why I have Shane around. He usually finds stuff before anybody does. So.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I like. If I can get it before Walmart and Target, like I'm golden. But if I can't, then I'm just sitting on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't, that's why I don't pre-order from people I know and stuff. And me and you got a history, and I consider friendship and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to tie up your money because I know me, and you know me. I find it elsewhere, I'm going to jump on it, and that's stuff like that.
But like for you, I would be like okay, there's another. You fall into a line of when a lot of people get mad at me at work for this because it's like he may or may not want it. I don't know. And so I'll put it in there. I'll put it on back for it, and it'd be like, "Hey, I didn't want any of this." I'm like, "I didn't want any of this. I didn't order this." And it's just like, "Yeah, I know, but like, had I not put it back, you would have wanted it, and then you would have missed it." So, like, I try to. It's basically it's like I know Rick doesn't. He might need it. He might not. But I held one back for you, and if he doesn't, I'll put it out for the next person. And yes, Shane, we did get the barbecue Marauder.
Cool.
People are looking for that.
Yeah, Shane.
Shane says, "Y'all got any of the BBQ Marauders in?" I said, "Yeah, Outback's on his way. I just don't know when."
I found him Outback.
Outback is
I've got that Marauder. I've had it for months, and I ain't even opened it. I don't care anything about that line, so I didn't know he needed it. Yeah, Mike, you've always done me good, man. That's why, I've been dealing with Ed and been doing business with the Deep since they were down there next to the old stadium in a closet, basically.
Yeah.
I had a few pictures I've been trying to find this whole time. I was going to show how small it was. But yeah, I can't seem to find them. But because I've always been took care of and everything else and the personal stuff, and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's why there's comic book stores pop up all the time. But I'm like, look, don't overlook the Deep, though, and stuff. So, because those folks know what they're doing. They've been doing it for years, and they'll take care of you. Just, so, yeah.
But I study trends and see what everybody's talking about, and that's what we do in books. It's kind of like this is what it's our version of speculation to see if it's going to be hit or miss, and it's kind of like, all right, this like the Motu Masterverse, it's kind of hot, and now it's really kind of just very lukewarm. So I got one guy that pre-orders a case, and so I pre-order a case for him, and then I order a case for the shelf. So there was times where the Deep would only order one case, and then we went to 3 cases, and then now we're at like 6 to 8 cases for the shelf, and then it's one of those like everything's very fluid, right? There's a lot of everything, so now I'm cutting back on a lot of my orders. So it's one of those like if you expect me to have it, like if you didn't pre-order it, like you're good. Like if you don't pre-order, if I don't hear anything about it, then like I don't know. So it's like that thing I posted in the group the other day about like the Hasbro Pulse exclusives that are being dropped on to Diamond's got them, and so I haven't looked anywhere else to see if they're starting to show up. But it's one of those like, hey, these are coming out. I'll be able to carry these in the store. And if people are like, cool, like I'm thinking about getting that Iron Man, I'd be like, great. Like I hear what people are talking about, and so it's just like cool. Like I know what to order. But if nobody's talking about it, I'm not ordering it. I'll be like, hey, what do you think about this? And I'll ask people like what they think about certain things. It's like, nah, like I don't think that'll be good. Then it's just like, cool, I'm not ordering it.
Yeah, that's one thing. John, the missing Ghostbusters that you need, they have all of them, but they're not $7.
Oh,
that's another thing.
Talking about the Afterlife figures.
Yeah, yeah. The ooze stuff on them, all that stuff. Yeah. Ones you posted said you wanted the others.
Oh yeah. The you talking about the with the ectoplasm on them, the
Yeah.
first class was, yeah.
Yeah, they got them all, but yeah, they're not.
We got them all.
prices.
We got all but Egon.
Yeah. I passed on the afterlife figure. I'm looking for them now, the afterlife figures, because I passed on them because one of the main characters, Phoebe, wasn't in the 6-figure wave, and then I found out later they done her in a 2-pack with Egon's ghost.
Yeah.
And so they did do her, and I'm like, well, now I wish I'd have got them so I was hoping maybe Ollie's might get those for $7. Do you guys have the afterlife figures?
We do. I have to go back and see what I think. Last time I looked, I think we had the Vankman and Trevor figure. I think those are the only two we had. But like I said, I haven't looked at those in a while. I haven't looked at those in a while, and I might have more in the warehouse.
Okay.
So I'm not sure.
I'll have to check next time I'm over. I don't get up there very often because it's like a 2-hour drive for me.
And that's the thing too. It's like I understand, like it's like 2 hours, 3 hours. Like, hey, if you're gonna drive 2 hours to come up there, I want to at least take care of you as best I can.
Yeah.
But it's like because it's one of those like, hey, you spent your time to come up here, and so I try to take care of you as best I can. So I'll have to look for those and see what they have. So, and I just noticed too on like Entertainment Earth, they just made the same announcement too about all those Pulse exclusives are now available to order from there. So I think I don't know what that says about the exclusiveness or what. Or it's people just not wanting those, or people
don't know
to pay the price on those. But it's one of those. I was looking at something the other day, and the retail value on it cost me like $26, but the retail value on it was like $44, and I was like, that's like nobody's gonna spend $45 on this figure. Like I'll put it. If it costs me $25. Like I can run it at 30 and then just like, hey, pre-order it, you get it for 30. If not, it'll be 35. It'll be $10 less than what it is, unless they hit me with a map, like the minimum advertised price.
Right. Yeah.
If they hit me with a map, then it's just like,
yeah.
Like I've got to do the best I can do. So, but it's just weird on certain things. That it's just one of those, like the cost is because like there's no margin on. I'll give you the perfect example right now. It's the Super Mario movie that just came out, and they got all the Mario figures. Those things cost me, I want to say it was 21 a piece. Oof. And I had to sell them for $24.99, but you can go to Walmart, $21.87. That's what they cost me per piece. But GameStop and Walmart and Target are all selling them for $19.99.
Yeah, So
my question is are they selling them at a loss? Because it's one of those, like everywhere else that I see them is selling them between $22 and $26 a piece, except for those places, and they're selling them for $19.99. So it's just kind of like, did they get it? Like, I don't know. I know that they get a better deal than what we get, but still, it's one of those like they're already losing so much money, and that's the one thing that I hate too. And the pandemic, it wiped out. What's that? Oh, I just talked. Dorkside got taken out. Dorkside got taken out because of they had an internal problem, and they did some real shady shit.
What happened to Megalopolis?
I don't. That was another one too that really surprised me. I don't know what happened to them. I can only speculate that nobody was buying. The inventory became greater, and it was just losing money. And so it was one of those like, hey, we're losing money, so we gotta. It's one of those they just file for bankruptcy because they're not. No, but it's like, and I hate bashing you guys, but we're like, Ollie's got it for $7. Cool, thanks for keeping Ollie's in business. Now all these stores are going out because like we're trying to like we give you 15% off. Like sorry, that's the best we can do. But like, and then once that happens, it's kind of like, well, we're gone. They're gone. All these other places are gone. Now you're dealing with Walmart and Target, Amazon, and then then you got Ollie's. So it's like once all the local shops and the smaller shops are gone, and it's just the big three. Like it's gonna stop. And I know everybody likes, and I know money's tough on everybody, and everybody tries to get a deal. But it's and I don't fault you for that because the Dungeon and Dragon figures at Target, I got them all for $10 a piece, and it's a crappy way. And I'm glad that I spent $10 a piece on them because I wouldn't have paid $24.99 for them because they're absolute crap. Like that puts stress on as soon as you start bending the leg joints, like there's just distress in the color.
Yeah,
and it's like my Hank. It's like my Hank, his knees, the knee joint is more white than it is green. And it's just like, that's just poor quality control coming from Hasbro.
this is, I'll tell you an experience from my past. When I said I worked at retail one time at the motorcycle dealership, that wasn't actually true. That was twice. And I really don't count it. But I'll tell you what, by trade, I'm a firearms instructor. Okay. So when I first started out with that, before I went to work for the state of Maine, I had my FFL, my federal firearms license, to sell firearms at retail, right? Well, I started running into this exact thing, right? Where I want X shotgun and Wally World will sell it to me for $157.99, right? Well, I can't come anywhere near that. And I mean, literally, we're talking, and those numbers, sometimes at base models like that, you're talking $40-$50 difference between what I can do and what, the boxes could do. Well, I was talking to one of my distributors about it one day, and he said, no one ever told you the difference between QP and SP. And I said, no, what are you talking about? And he said, you independent guys get QP, SKUs. Right? Everybody knows what a SKU is, right? Everybody else gets SP, which are, the box stores, Cabela's. Anybody that sells firearms that's a box store, they get these SPs, right? It's standard product versus quality product. That is exactly what QP and SP stands for. So he says, so you independent guys get, everything you get is QP. We're not even allowed to sell you SP because SP is standard product. The quality of your product is higher. That's why it is flat out more expensive, right? Now, that's not happening with toys and books and everything else. But I would tell anybody that had ears stuck to the side of their head that my SKUs were QP and everybody else's were SP, and they would still go to Walmart to save that extra money and then call me if there was a problem with the gun, right? Because I'm supposed to return it to the manufacturer for them somehow when they wouldn't buy it from me. And it's just like, buddy, that's just flat out not going to work that way at all. I tried to tell you. That's a much more extreme example of what we're talking about. But it's funny that there just seems to be a different mindset about saving a buck sometimes versus, well, I'll say it, undermining the tax base of the town that you might even live in, because that's ultimately what ends up happening when your property taxes or your excise tax or whatever they call it is down here to register your car go through the roof. Guess what? You actually didn't save as much money on that comic or that figure or that X that you bought because you're undermining the tax base of where you live. So there's a lot to be said for supporting the little businesses, because I'm telling you, they're paying more than their fair share. They didn't get the big tax breaks to build in the town like Target or Walmart or whoever.
If you look at the prices, you go look at Big Bad, and it's just like, why is everywhere else $24.99 and they're $25.99?
Right.
That $25.99 is to factor in the cost of shipping that they had to pay to get, because it's like for board, like, and it makes no sense to me. Like Southern Hobby, they do board games.
Yep.
If I order $500 worth of board games, it's free shipping. But if there's one toy, if it's one toy in there, then and one something came in, one toy, it's $5 per pound.
I used to do that too. Yeah.
And it's just like, why? Why do toys get charged different in shipping rules than board games and books? And it's just like, that's just the way that the government set it up. So it's just one of those, like, so I don't know if that's like like for import export or why. That's why it's one of those, like, cool. I had to go rounds with Entertainment Earth because they were sending me one, like, here's one case. Like every day, every week, they would, like, every day it was a case. It's like case. And I'm getting charged. It's X amount of shipping. So can't you just bundle them all in one big box and then just ship it to me like that?
Right.
And they're like, yeah, we can do bulk shipping. And then so the price started coming back down, but like I can't. That's why a lot of those places, when you see, like, it's why it's $26.99. It's because we have to factor in the shipping cost, because for some odd reason we can't get free shipping, which makes no sense. It's like we have to pay for shipping so they can charge people free shipping after spending X amount. So I know we get a tax break on it, but it still sucks on just like what I have to do. So it's just kind of like, and then I got one guy that came in the shop and he's like, well, can't y'all price match at least like this? I'm like, yeah, we can, but like, this is the best that we can do. And they're like, well, why can't you do better? Because that's below our cost.
Yeah, right.
Like we had Southern put in a lawsuit to sue Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro because on Amazon they set up an Amazon store and they were selling D&D books for their cost.
Oh.
So the distributor has a cost, and then I have a cost because everybody's got to make money.
Yeah, that's right.
But so Hasbro just bypassed everybody, and it was $24.90. It's $24.99 a book. Was what they were free. $24.99 with free shipping, and they were like, "Wait a minute! Like, why do I need you? I'm just going to buy it."
Right.
And I don't have to. It's a book that I'm not. Why do I have to pay shipping? And they went in there, and then they found out about it, and they were like, "Nope, it's changed now to four per account. Four per account." And then they changed it again to where it was 4 per credit card. No, it was 4 per credit card, and then it went to 4 per account. So it's like, what, like, we just have a whole bunch of stock that's not moving and we need to dump it. And then Walmart got fed the whole big thing of lies from Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. I don't know. Does anybody here do the card games at all, like Magic?
I don't know.
So Magic the Gathering had a fireside chat where they were talking about the market and everything that it was doing. And I watched it, and I watched a bunch of people review it because, granted the fact it's still Hasbro Wizards of the Coast, but what they were talking about, you could see the reflection of toys versus cards, and where they were like, hey, this is what we're doing. And it's like, oh, I see how I can relate how they're doing that to cards, because it's like they basically, you had a bunch of people at Hasbro that actually gave a shit that were fans that loved what they were doing, and they just hired a bunch of people in. A bunch of people retired, hired in a bunch of people to run the business as a business. They don't care about. It's the same like the guys that bought Toys R Us.
Yeah, right.
And it's just like, oh, it's not making money, cancel it, kill it.
Right.
So basically, you have all these people in here that are like, let's make some money, like comics and TV. It's all popular, and it's just like let's go, let's sell all this stuff, and it's just like you're coming in and trying to like it's always been a niche market of nerddom that has its balance that you're trying to milk everything out, like you're trying to milk it for everything that it's worth, and like this is also the fan base that when you start trying to milk it, it's just going to be like we're out, later. So, I mean, it's one of those like it's. So that's basically what Hasbro was trying to do with Walmart is they sold them all this. Like I've never seen a D&D book in Walmart.
No, I never noticed them. No.
Hasbro and Walmart had worked out some deal to where they were supposed to start carrying D&D books and stuff in Walmart stores. And then I don't know how much this was true. It was kind of like, I don't know what happened, but like the electronic section and the book section were supposed to kind of combined to become like the pop, like what they did. Target's got their pop culture section, in the electronics, and then that was kind of the same thing with like the Funkos and all the specialty stuff. So when you go to Walmart, it's got its own little thing in the electronics section. If that was supposed to be like a pop culture section, is what that was supposed to be, but like D&D, like Marvel comics were supposed to be there, like direct ship comics, D&D books, niche toys. It was just essentially everything. You're basically this little bitty comic shop inside of Walmart's, and it never took. Like I don't know if it took off or if they never factored it. I don't know why it didn't work, but obviously it didn't work. And then Hasbro opened up a Amazon page, and I can't remember what it's called, but they started selling D&D stuff at cost. And it's like, hold on, we got to like, wait a minute. Like, no, you can't. So they started having to like, oh, you can only buy 2 books. You can only buy 2 books from per account. And then it became like, well, you can only buy 2 books per account per credit card. And so it's just kind of like once you've like we've already got your credit card in the system, it's already been charged. You got to get a whole new credit card. And it's just like, well, I'm going to make a new account. And it's like, nope, that credit card's already been used. So it's like, how many credit cards do I have to open up to get this deal? And there's some people that are like, I'm going to open up 5 credit cards and run the board on it. And that's the same thing with like the same thing with bots on every time there's a pre-release of
pre-order, yeah.
So, but it's weird of like all this stuff that just failed, and then it's just like we're trying to dump the product to make some type of money off of it because we got stuck. And then, like I said, Hasbro basically just shot himself in the foot by becoming a company that did. Like this is what we're doing now. So, like,
see, it's funny. It's funny that you tell the story because I remember. It seems as though it was right at the tail end of DC's New 52 run that was the word in the industry that they were really going to phase out the smaller shops in favor of this Walmart model where they were going to be selling comics in mass at Walmart's.
Right.
And I remember that portion of the story. I didn't know about the rest of it, the Wizards of the Coast stuff and Hasbro. And I didn't know Marvel was part of that plan either. But I do know that it never panned out. And then DC took a major hit over that whole debacle because whatever their plan and scheme was did not work because it never came to fruition.
And that was the problem too with always having comics at Walmart is the Walmart employees don't care.
No.
The customers don't care. And so when DC started putting up books, when I remember I had to go Cookville to find, because Huntsville, Athens, Decatur, Florence, all their stuff came in damaged.
Yeah.
And I ended up at the Walmart in Cookville to find pristine copies of the books that were the new DC Walmart exclusives.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then once those clean copies got found, and then it's a $5 book that became $25 on eBay.
Right.
Because everything was damaged. So it's just kind of like, cool, everything was here. And then this is how shitty people are, is that people would go up and destroy the books.
Yeah, to build their own market.
And it was just like, I got mine.
Yep.
Like, oh my God. And it's just it's just the whole eBay, like MegaCon, talking to the people down there, it's like the old artists, even talking to the expo here in Huntsville, talking to those guys, it was like, yeah, you used to be able to come down, go to the comic book convention and get a sketch and a drawing for free.
Right.
And it's like, hey, I love you. Like, everything's free. It's free signature, free sketch. Like, it's all cool. Thanks. I appreciate it. Never had to pay for anything. And it was just a love. But now because of eBay, it's one of those like, no, sorry, I got to charge for everything now, because if I don't, somebody's going to turn around and was going to charge an arm and a leg. So it's one of those things too, where it's like, I'll have X person's signature on this pop, and it's just kind of like, okay, well, the pop's worth $5 and his signature is worth 50. So basically the thing's worth $50.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, it's worth more because it's just the pop and his signature. It's like, it's worth the cost of his signature. So, and then even on, like, when Chris Claremont comes into town and signs the X book, like, that's the whole, I saw something about the CGC stuff, but like, that's a whole different.
Yeah, that's a different animal. Yeah,
that's a whole different animal. CGC,
it really is.
The reason CGC takes so long is because you did not pay enough money for the
right.
turnaround. You
Right.
pay for the fast, quick turnaround. You get it in 30 days. If you want it, the cheap route, 6 months to a year. And then some of the stuff when they send to a con, that just gets packed up. Like everything that's why we didn't do anything from CBS this year, CBCS, at the Huntsville Pop Culture Expo, is because they take everything, they pack it up, and they send it off to get graded. Well, it just sits in a warehouse, and we get to it when we get to it, and we got all these other orders coming in on top of it. And grading the comics easy, but then again, it's also not, if you don't know what to look for, then it's your version of fine and my version of fine are two different things.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And so there's supposed to be a standard that they follow, but then it turns into, well, I got the first appearance of Wolverine. It's a $1,500 book, but if I get it CGC'd, it's coming back as a $3,000 book. So yeah, I'm going to pay the $300 to get it turned around in 30 days. Because I know I'm going to be able to make money off of it. So, and that's why a lot of times people's CGC stuff just takes forever, because somebody's just, it's the, I don't know if anybody goes out to bars or pool halls, but like the new modern jukeboxes, it's basically like, hey, you get two songs for $1. But if you want to hear your song right now, you got to pay $1. So it's just like 50 cents a song, or hear one song right now for $1. And it's just like, that's basically, and there's so many people who come in and pay the $1 to hear that one song that they wanted. It's like, why? Just wait.
Yeah. Ay.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a crazy fun world.
It is. And we're coming up on 2 hours. So
I got something real quick, before
Yeah,
we
go
run
ahead,
out of
John.
time. Talking about CGC. So, like, I can't figure out why it's taking longer for books made prior to 1975 than modern books. Because I sent off 2 Silver Age books and about 10 modern age 80s, 90s books last June. and I got the modern books back in about 5 to 6 weeks, and I didn't pay the speedy process or anything. But I finally got the other two back last month. It took over 9 months to get and they'll tell you on the website, the Silver Age and Golden Age, 9 months, But I thought all of it's graded the same. So why is it taking so long on the Silver Age and Golden Age? Maybe you might know, since you kind of probably deal with them more than I do.
It takes a little bit. It's like the best example that I can give is that, let's say the first Amazing Fantasy 15 comes in. I have no problem of holding that book in my hand, doing a page count, and counting and looking at that book and holding it and determining a grade on it. The other guy, he's not touching it. He's like, I'm not messing this book up. I don't want to touch it. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I got a glove. Like, I know what to do. So I know that sometimes the older books take a little bit longer because of what they are. You have to, it's a more delicate process. Like, I can look at a book, I can look at a bunch of modern books and real fast, like, here it is. But, if.
Well, that's kind of what I was wondering.
Like a 9.6.
Like 100 people grading, but only 5 people grade the Silver Golden Age or something.
Because like on the Silver Golden Age, like you're looking, a point difference is thousands of dollars versus tens of hundreds. Right. So it's just like the Amazing Spider-Man 300. It's $1,200 book at 9.8, but it's $500 at an 8, and $250 at a 7. Whereas, like, Wolverine 181 or like Amazing Fantasy #1, it's like right now I'm holding $50,000 in my hand with the potential of being more or less.
Right.
And then you get in there and you grade it with, like, it's very delicate. And it's just one of those, like, all right, cool. You don't want to just rush through this book. You want to be very, very meticulous of what you're looking for. And it's like one of the things now that we're having to do with Magic, because everything is so because of fakes. We are having to use a jeweler's loop to look at the cards. And I know on some of those books, because of repair, if something looks different, like it looks like it's repaired, you look at it under a different light, or you look through it through the jeweler's loop and magnifying glasses, just to make sure, like basically there's the CGC, and then there's the blue, and then the purple means repair. And that's a $50,000 book with a blue label. It's 20 if it's been repaired. And then some people don't even, if it's been repaired, I'm not even touching it at all.
Exactly right.
And so it's just like you have to be so careful on that older stuff. And like, I don't even know how. Like, a lot of people like to do the cover swaps, where you find, that's what basically happened. Like, an auction here in town is somebody, Amazing Spider-Man #1, that was coverless. It was coverless and was missing the inside page. And so it's just like, all you have to do is find a cover and the inside page, and you have a complete book. And so sometimes you can find pages, and you can find where it's like, hey, it's covered, but it's missing a bunch of pages, got torn out, or something got cut out. And I don't know how, like, I wouldn't. That is surgery right there, because it's old late 60s, mid 60s staple that you're taking apart and then pulling all that paper through and then putting it all back. Like, what? That's nerve wracking. That is, like, the worst thing that I ever had to do was I had to work on a straight arm Snake Eyes, and the bolt had rusted, the screw had rusted in, and I tried everything to get it out. And it's one of those, like, I have to screw in, like, I have to drill into the back of this just so I can to get it out. And it's one of those like it's $100 figure, but still it's just like it's an 82 straight arm. Like it's
Right.
like I don't see that. I used to see them all the time. Now you don't see them at all. So it's just like, man, I really don't want to like, all right, man, I can fix it for you, but if I break it, I got to pay you $100 because it's on me. And it's not on
Right.
them. So it's like they damage that book, that's on them. So I'm going to take care. I'm going to take care of everything. I'm going to take care of everything that's in my possession because if I break it or damage it, I got to pay you for it.
Right.
So,
Well, my friend, I got to say, I mean, this actually went a lot better than I thought. I really appreciate your insight. I had just one other thing that I wanted to ask, but I'm not gonna because
I can do it quick.
Okay, I'll do it real quick. What's up with the new Snake Eyes comic? Who's got it? Is it coming? What?
That is part of Robert Kirkman's stuff.
Is Skybound?
No clue. No idea.
Yep, that's what I figured, and here we sit, right?
There's so many people waiting for that. That's a whole different can of worms right there.
I don't know what happened there. Something, and it seemed awfully abrupt and drastic for that to be yanked away from IDW the way it was after all those years.
Well, it's the same. It's basically. It's anybody that owns whoever it's the rights come up,
right?
And then it's just it's the same thing with it's why HBO Max paid almost $1 billion to stream Friends and Big Bang Theory because they know it's going to draw.
Right, yeah, that's true.
And Kirkman might be waiting. Is there what's the next biggest anniversary coming up?
45th.
So they could be waiting for that. They could be coming up and planning something big, because I don't know how long that contract's for.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the 40th was just last year, and it kind of came and went. So I mean, the next one would still be 3 years away, right?
Right. So they could they could be doing something big with it. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if you read 300, but. That's a cliffhanger, man. I mean, for what was going to be the end of the run and the end of the Hammer era, it wasn't the end. So I don't know. But like I said, that was a year ago at this point. So I don't know. I was just curious.
You got the 60th anniversary for G.I. Joe in general next.
The 60th, yeah, right, for the whole. Yeah,
maybe.
Maybe
they'll launch it then.
They could be saving up for something like that. So
yeah, no, that's true. Good point, John. Because I'm just thinking Real American Hero era, which was we just had our 40th last year, but you're right, it's 64, which is next year.
Right.
So yeah, that's a good point. I guess we'll wait and see, right? I mean, it's the way it's going to go. Anything else, Mr. Rick, for this week? He's on mute.
I've got nothing.
Cool.
We appreciate you coming on, Mike.
Oh yeah, huge.
Yeah, I try to be open and honest about everything. So
oh, you did that, and it's appreciated because that's what this is about. So
like I said, I've been doing this. I've been working in the deep off and on since 1999.
Nice.
So and I've been personally been in charge of the toys since 2015. So
yep.
Okay.
Very cool.
I know who to talk to when I'm up that way now.
Yeah, if I'm there, just come find me. And I'm better with names than I am faces. So if I don't recognize you right off the bat, I'm sorry. It's my bad. I'm better. I'm an old bartender. I know. I'll get on. I was like, either I know your face or I know your name. So
or he's hiding in the phone booth.
That too.
Yeah. It was funny when I went up there. I walked right by Mike, just beelined it for the back wall there, and I said something to somebody, and he comes along and he says, "You're Dave, ain't you?" He's like, yeah. So no, I heard your voice. It was because of the podcast that we
He,
did.
he probably heard you asking somebody, "Where's your McFarlane book?"
Exactly right. Thank you, Mike. It was actually great having you. It's greatly appreciated.
Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
We'll
And
great guest. I think we could do that periodically, and it wouldn't hurt anybody's feelings because there's a whole ton of insight there and questions that we have that we just don't have access to the answers unless we know somebody like you. So I mean,
it's also there's like Toy Fair, His Tank, like there's a lot of people out there that care, even some of the toy guys on the YouTube. Like there's a lot of people out there that care that look for the information, and it's like I had EE contact me about a product coming out, and I'm like, "Ooh, I got the inside tip," and then 2 hours later, there it was already like in the news, and people were already talking about it, and it's just kind of like I can't remember who that dude was, but he got on there. He's like Motu, like every year he keeps saying Motu is dead, Motu is dead, and so he got everybody believing that the line was dead. And I'm like, the line's not, because I had talking to everybody in the store and like in the Pop Culture Philosophers toy group page, like it was like, hey, like no, the line's not dead. Like I put in an order for these figures that haven't even been announced yet.
right?
Like, they're coming in October. So like, why did I just order stuff? It's like this guy's he's just a fan that knows nothing about news. So
Yeah.
it's basically it's like if you know somebody that works at Hasbro, like you can ask, like you can get the information out. So it's just one of those, like I've got to meet people that know people that know people.
Right.
So or when in doubt, I'm just like I just need to know what's going on. Like so I can tell.
No, right. That's your business.
Yeah. And most of the time, every rep or person I worked at from some type of distribution was like, yeah, this is what's going on. Like, this is the honest that I can be. And it's just like, cool. Like, whatever you tell me, I'm not telling the public because you trust me with that.
Yeah, exactly.
I can dance around it as best I can.
Yes, I hear that. Well, gentlemen and viewers, it's been another good episode. Make sure you go push that subscribe button, guys, because that would be helpful, to say the least. And, man, we had a ton of comments. I just scrolled through quickly, and I was seeing names that I didn't recognize before, so that's cool. And thank you. Thanks, Mike. John?
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Mike.
Shane, take care of yourself. We will see you in a week. Just remember that we're on next Sunday night. And then somebody's going to have to remind me of the weeks. Joe Fest. It's going to fall in there somewhere in the next 3 weeks, right? So
3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4. So, well, no doubt try to do something Joe Fest centric at that time. So, like I said, push the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Again, thanks, Mike. It is hugely appreciated. And everybody, if you can, go to the Deep. If you're some of our viewers in the southern part of the state, just continue to support your local shops as best you can. That's really the best advice I can give for you. If you want to see your hobby actually survive and flourish, support your local shops. So, Mr. Rick, you can hit the end button at any time. I think that's all